This is the story of how America's second largest steel producer, the company that built the Golden Gate Bridge, the Empire State Building, and more than 1,100 warships during World War II, became a casino, an arts campus, and a walking trail. This is the story of America's Rust Belt in miniature. Bethlehem Steel didn't just die, it was replaced. And what replaced it tells you everything about what this country became. Let's start with what was there. It was a massive plant, stretching across 126 acres of riverfront land. 5 blast furnaces lined up across nearly a quarter mile, with the 2 largest soaring over 230 feet into the sky. From Furnace A on the west end to Furnace E on the east, that's 1,100 feet of raw industrial power. The Hoover Mason trestle, built in 1906, carried elevated rail cars loaded with ore and limestone from the storage yards directly into those furnaces. 31,000 people clocked in here at peak employment. Generations of families built their entire lives around this plant. Frank Behums' great-grandfather came to America in 1885 because he saw an ad back in Austria-Hungary that read, "Come to America, passage paid, guaranteed job at Bethlehem Steel." 3 more generations of his family followed him through those same gates. The company's roots go all the way back to April 8, 1857, when it started as the Saucona Iron Works. The first blast furnace fired up on January 4, 1863, right in the middle of the Civil War. By 1899, it had become Bethlehem Steel Company. By 1904, under Charles M. Schwab, it transformed into Bethlehem Steel Corporation and became a titan. The steel that poured out of this plant went into Rockefeller Center, Madison Square Garden, the Waldorf Astoria, the George Washington Bridge, the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge. During World War II alone, Bethlehem's 15 shipyards employed 180,000 people and launched 1,121 ships, more than any other builder in the entire war. This was the arsenal of democracy in physical form. As late as 1974, the company posted record earnings of $342 million. Everything looked permanent. Everything looked like it would last forever. One Bethlehem resident, Pat Velikai, put it simply, "We just didn't believe it. We thought it would be here forever." It wasn't. The collapse came from every direction at once. The forces of de-industrialization hit Bethlehem like they hit steel towns across the Rust Belt. Cheaper imports started flooding in during the 1960s, first from Japan and Western Europe, then from South Korea and China. Mini mills that used electric arc furnaces undercut integrated steel plants on cost. Management under Eugene Grace had failed to adequately invest in pensions during the 1950s, and those obligations compounded for decades. Thousands of asbestos lawsuits from shipyard and mill workers drained millions more. Diversification efforts went nowhere. In 1982, Bethlehem Steel posted a loss of $1.5 billion and suspended most of its steelmaking operations. The Bethlehem plant itself went dark on November 18, 1995, when the furnaces fired for the last time. On October 15, 2001, the company filed for bankruptcy, becoming the 25th American steelmaker to do so in just 4 years. And on May 7, 2003, the company was dissolved entirely, its remaining assets sold to International Steel Group for a net $822.6 million in cash. Here is what happened to the workers. The Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation took over responsibility for 95,000 workers and retirees. It was the largest pension assumption in PBGC history. The plan was only 45% funded, $3.5 billion in assets against $7.8 billion in liabilities. The shortfall, $3.9 billion, became the PBGC's single largest claim ever. Many former employees and United Steelworkers Union members lost significant portions of their pensions and their health benefits entirely. Now, what replaced it corporately? International Steel Group, founded by billionaire investor Wilbur Ross in 2002, bought the productive assets. Middle Steel acquired ISG in 2005, then merged with Arcelor in 2006 to form ArcelorMittal. In December 2020, ArcelorMittal sold its United States operations to Cleveland-Cliffs for approximately $1.4 billion. The Burns Harbor plant that Bethlehem Steel built back in 1964 is still making steel today, just under its fourth corporate parent in less than 20 years. But the Bethlehem plant itself, that is a different story entirely. For years after it closed, those 126 acres just sat there, rusting, decaying. In 2008, the National Trust for Historic Preservation listed the site as one of America's 11 endangered historic places. The blast furnaces stood like tombstones for a way of life that was never coming back. The transformation started with money. In 1999, the city of Bethlehem, the school district, and Northampton County created a tax increment financing district. The Bethlehem Redevelopment Authority established Bethlehem Works in 2000, a 20-year, 26-acre TYF zone covering those 126 acres. That was the financial framework for what urban planners call brownfield redevelopment. What came next was the gamble, literally. In 2007, the Bethlehem Steel property was sold to Sands Beth Works, a subsidiary of Las Vegas Sands Corporation. And here is an irony that almost feels too perfect. During construction of the $743 million casino complex, there was a global steel shortage. Sands committed to using only domestic steel, and a good portion of it came from Nucor, where steel recycled from the demolished Bethlehem plant had been shipped. The old Bethlehem Steel was literally melted down and rebuilt into the thing that replaced it. The Sands Casino Resort opened on May 22, 2009, with over 3,000 slot machines and 200 table games. An outlet mall with 133,000 square feet of retail space followed in November 2011. In 2019, Wind Creek Hospitality, an entity of the Porch Band of Creek Indians, purchased the entire operation for $1.3 billion. They have since announced a $250 million adventure and water park project that will convert the old No. 2 machine shop into a 300,000 square foot water park with a 400-room hotel. But the casino is only part of what filled the void. In 2011, the 10-acre central core directly in front of the blast furnaces was redeveloped into the Steel Stacks Arts and Cultural Campus. Nearly $250 million in combined investment from state and federal grants and private donors went into this project. It now houses the Arts Quest Performing Arts Center, new studios for the Lehigh Valley PBS station, and draws over 1 million visitors annually. The Hoover Mason Trestle, that same elevated rail line that once carried ore to the furnaces, reopened in June 2015 as a pedestrian promenade. Inspired by New York's High Line and designed by Patrick Cullinane, the walkway cost $15.5 million and runs 1,650 feet at elevation, offering views directly into the rusted guts of the old plant. In August 2016, the National Museum of Industrial History opened inside the former electric repair shop, the first Smithsonian-affiliated museum in the region. The story is not uncomplicated. Scholars have warned that casino-driven development does not always deliver what it promises. Sheldon Adelson's Sands Corporation reportedly tried to restrict any discussion of labor unions on the property as a condition of returning land to the city. The pension betrayal still stings. The debate over whether slot machines are a worthy successor to steelmaking is real and ongoing, but the numbers today are hard to argue with. The Lehigh Valley economy reached $57.3 billion and ranked as the #1 mid-size market in the country for economic development in 2025. The population grew to nearly 700,000, making it one of the fastest-growing regions in the entire Northeast. Governor Josh Shapiro said it bluntly at a Bethlehem appearance. "I am sick and tired of hearing that old song," referring to Billy Joel's 1982 track Allentown. He owes us a new one. What replaced Bethlehem Steel is not one thing. It is a casino owned by a Native American tribe. It is an arts campus in the shadow of blast furnaces. It is a walking trail on a 100-year-old ore trestle. It is a Smithsonian museum inside a repair shop. It is a community that refused to let 126 acres of its soul just rust into nothing. The steel is gone. But those 5 furnaces still stand, 230 feet tall, rusted the color of dried blood, looking out over everything that came after. They do not make anything anymore, but they remember everything.